We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we record this podcast.
Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.
Hello, green beans. Welcome to episode, 13
Holy moly.
of the podcast, I think. That is more than I can count on my hands, at the very least. Our podcast is officially bingeable.
Yeah.
That's right. We can have a good old binge, good old Green Girls party, learn something new. And if you've got to this point, thank you so much for listening. We've had so much fun doing it. This episode is all about recycling and redcycling and the little spot of trouble that both of them can cause. I'm going to be tackling recycling, which is far too big of an issue. So I'm mostly talking about the plastic today. And Mikaela, the gorgeous Mikaela, is talking us through Redcycle, which is, I believe, just an Australian thing, but there are other soft plastic schemes around the world, so it's pretty cool.
It is.
Something that I love, or at least loved. So we'll get into that.
Stop. It's too soon.
I know. I want us to be happy for a little bit.
Yes. I'm sorry. Negative Mikaela over here.
Back up. Wow, cannot speak. Mikaela Dayla, what brings you joy this week?
This week, I actually have been hanging out for this for a little while, but I went down to my dad's house on Friday, even though he's overseas, but my sisters are there, because there was a vintage warehouse sale on the weekend, and it was fairly close to like a couple suburbs away. So I went to that by myself. I had a really good time. Went through all the racks. My arm's sore. I mainly bought dresses, and I haven't even tried them on because I didn't have change rooms, but I got home yesterday and looked through them and was like, "Oh, I really like this. Oh, I really like this." So
are they going to be in a video?
I think possibly, yeah. I think it could be fun because they're really unique, fun dresses. So I think I spent $85 or something. They were all $5 each. So
wow,
steal. Yeah, but it was so busy, and we were you know how you're flicking through the racks. Someone's standing next to you. You flick this way, and they flick it back that way, and you're like, "Oh wait, no. I'm looking.
This is my aisle."
Bit of an adrenaline rush there, but no, that was something I was looking forward to, and I really enjoyed it. And I think sometimes it's good to do things on your own as well. I would have invited some friends, but I don't know. Sometimes push yourself out of your comfort zone and just go do things by yourself.
You can vibe there all on your own.
Yeah, it was very fun, very successful.
Oh, that's so good. I can't wait to see some of them.
I know. But yes, what about you? What brings you joy this week?
This week, there is a kookaburra that has basically moved into the area. And I'm obsessed with it. I know where it's going to be now at any given time of the day when I'm home. From the kitchen, if I'm doing the dishes, I'll look through and there's a neighbor's garden and then another neighbor's garden that I can just see through the trees. And the kookaburra will be there, in the little gap. I'm like, oh my God, the kookaburra. Anytime from 5 p.m, its chosen space is my next door neighbor's letterbox.
Oh.
It's the perfect space for me to see from the sofa.
Yeah.
And so I'll have the door open and the TV's on and we're watching dinner and I'm just watching this kookaburra going about its day, hopping on top of the letterbox, swooping down to get a bug, hopping back on the letterbox, and I'll just watch it for so long.
Cute.
I love it so much. It's such a joy just watching this little kookaburra going about its day, doing its little neck crackle things.
Yeah. Do you know what's so funny?
So
I feel like the older you get, the more you can appreciate watching birds.
I love birds.
I thoroughly enjoy it. We'll sit out on our deck or in our lounge room, same thing, and just watch the birds. And I said to Jake the other day, I was like, man, we're old. Since when did we enjoy bird watching? And now you just said this about the kookaburra. It brings so much joy.
It's not just you. Look, Australia has some really good birds.
Mm-hmm.
English birds don't hit the same.
Just pigeons, right?
It's pigeons, and in my town it's seagulls, and you get sparrows and the small ones that eat the seeds. They are pretty fun to watch.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch my cats watch the birds and do that little chittery thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here you get parrots. You get full on parrots that honestly it makes me sad to think that it's weird for me to see parrots that are wild. For me, parrots are pets in cages in the UK. Or you just didn't see them.
I feel like we have a very diverse selection of birds to watch.
Yes. Yes, you do. I love them so much.
What's this episode actually about? Because it's definitely not about birds.
After the joy of birds comes the comes recycling. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, it was very much like recycling is good and it's easy and it's the way of the world and it's going to save us. There was a whole campaign of like recycling anything as possible that was on like British TV, at least for me as a kid. And I was like, yeah, wow, people just need to recycle and we'll be fine. Like, there's a pen that used to be tires or whatever else.
Yeah, right.
Like, that was it. I thought as long as we recycle, we're fine. But maybe that was the case. But sadly, as I've got older, I have learned it's not. And 5 years ago, as I'm sure most people know, Australia and much of the world got the shocking news that China was no longer accepting their recycling.
5 years ago. Holy moly.
5 years, yeah. Feels like a blink of an eye. But then also 2021 feels like 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know where we are now, but 2021 was not last year. Yeah, so China, who I guess I also was kind of ignorant to the fact that China took so much recycling from the world.
Same.
But so much of it was contaminated, and therefore they stopped wanting to take it. I think they either just blanket stopped or they made their new standard so high that basically the world could not use China to recycle anymore. I can't blame China. I honestly can't, because if it is that contaminated, you can't do anything with it. You need to change the system, and if you're not prepared to do that, then it's just going to landfill or it's being incinerated, and neither is great. So at that point, 5 years ago, Australia was just looking for a quick fix, and I think they tried shipping to other places. And Malaysia was the main place that Australia tried, but it didn't take long for Malaysia to stop doing it as well. But there were also dozens and dozens of illegal processing sites. So I have a quote from the presenter of 60 Minutes, and they say, if you ever needed proof that the system is broken, then look no further than here in Malaysia, where dozens and dozens of these illegal processing sites mean that your rubbish gets dumped, buried, or even burned. That message was spread far and wide, and I've heard countless times that the recycling process is pointless because it all ends up in the same place. It's a sham, it's a lie, there's no point recycling. And you know what, at some point perhaps that was true, but we need to stop saying it now. It just isn't. And from the research I've done, I feel much more confident in the recycling system that we have than I actually ever have before. I'm really, really happy that I did this research, because since then, since 5 years ago, we have had to up our game. And yeah, it could not happen overnight. We looked for this quick fix with other countries because we just didn't have everything that we needed yet. But since then, really good things have happened. So I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be happy with my research. I need some of that. Thank you.
Yes, we need some positivity.
So my thought is, because we would ship our recycling away, it wasn't a problem we had to deal with. But now it's been 5 or 6 years from that, and Australia is taking action. It's been from both sides being the beginning and the end of the process. So in the beginning, there were bans on certain types of single-use plastics, which basically means there's less bad stuff going into the system to worry about being recycled, which is great. We're minimizing the amount of recycling that needs to happen. There's actually an awesome chart on the Marine Conservation Society website. I love it. And that goes through all the bans and proposed bans by state. I'm not going to cover everything, but it's really cool. I wonder if you can see it actually as well.
I can. Right. Oh, I did see in New South Wales, they recently banned all single-use plastics by, I can't remember what year, but looking at that chart, it looks like it's pretty good, except for a couple things at the bottom.
Yeah, New South Wales is... I know.
Wait,
I hate them.
I thought helium balloons were banned everywhere.
Guess not.
What?
Looks like they're banned nowhere. Was that a thing? I didn't think helium balloons were banned.
I swear I saw somewhere that helium balloons were banned.
Oh.
Maybe in my dreams.
No, I definitely still see people with like birthday balloons and stuff that must be helium.
Interesting. I would like to have a really good look through that.
Yeah. Well, you can see that New South Wales is totally leading the charge here.
Definitely.
They've banned everything from straws to microbeads. We've got lightweight plastic bags that are gone, straws, drink stirrers, cutlery, polystyrene food and drink containers, plates and bowls, cotton bud sticks, and microbeads, all banned. Love that for New South Wales. And Victoria is kind of behind, but in 2023 they are banning all of those things.
I can't believe drink stirrers even existed. Like,
it seems so dumb.
So dumb.
It's all of these like weird takeaway single-use things.
Convenient.
Convenience. It's convenient.
Convenience
is not convenient for the planet.
Nope.
No. And but you can see here there's still heaps more to be done. Fruit and veggie produce bags are on this list, plastic cups and lids, coffee cups that contain plastic. But I am happy to see that this action is happening at the beginning. It stops the product from being made. It can't become wasted 5 minutes after it's used if it's never made.
Correct. And looking at that chart, it looks like South Australia and WA, as of 2024, they're going to be one of the better ones.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, New South Wales doesn't seem to have anything planned. They're just like, yeah, we've done it. We're good.
Yeah, we're already ahead of the game.
Like, we're sweet. Yeah, South Australia is upping its game majorly. Yeah, ACT and South Australia are the only ones saying that they are looking to ban plastic takeaway containers.
Yes.
So kudos to them. Very happy to see that. As much as government should not have to be responsible for all of these things, it absolutely does help, because as soon as that little push happens, people are like, okay, we'll just adapt and bring our own container, our own bags to the supermarket.
Correct. I think, though, the government should be, the first point, because if it's a legislation, then it means everyone has to abide by it. Otherwise, you have all these companies who say, like, oh, we pledge to do this, but it's just like a marketing tactic. It's not like they have to do anything about it. Whereas if there's legislation behind it, then, legally they're not allowed to supply those products.
Yeah.
So they have to find an alternative.
Yeah, they have to find another way. Much, honestly, like China being like, sorry, we're not taking your recycling anymore. And we're like, okay, we'll deal with this somehow. Yeah, shit, but all right. Guess we'll have to find a different hole. Something else.
Yeah, so true.
So that is the beginning of the process. But in addition, the quality of the material that we can make with recycled material now is improving, and that is really, really exciting.
Yes,
so before, with recycled material, we used to only be able to make things like plant pots and park benches. But now it's high quality enough that food and drink packaging can become food and drink packaging all over again.
Yeah.
And so the quality, the hygiene that we're able to take forward, the amount we're able to separate plastics and keep those plastics together, that's all happening in the way where we can keep reusing the same stuff, which is really, really cool. And it means we just don't have heaps of park benches for absolutely no reason.
Well, that's right. Like, I mean, how many park benches
we're going to run out of
There needs to be other products. I also think it's hilarious that we're putting nature in plastic pots. Like, I mean, it's recycled, which is good, but I think it's just the irony of it, putting something living and growing in a recycled plastic pot. I think it's so funny.
Yeah, but, well, eventually,
I mean, it's better than sitting in the ground.
It will degrade.
Yeah.
Like, if it's going to be a material that degrades, you kind of don't want it to be plastic.
Yeah.
So I'm like, really? Plant pots? But I guess they're just oh, well, you're not consuming the plastic, so it's fine.
Yes.
But we don't know how much that plastic gets absorbed by the plant. True. And if we eat that plant, if we then absorb something, there's far more to it that scientifically we just don't know, because these plastics can get so small. Like, we can detect microplastics.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can detect smaller than that.
Someone was telling me the other day about, like, the microplastics we ingest, and this is just like talk, like, I don't know if it's legit or whatever. She was like, oh, there's like a ring of plastic in your intestines that just, everything gets caught and caught and caught. And I was like,
no, that's
surely
awful.
not. She's like, yeah, well, your body can't, digest it. So it just kind of slowly builds up. And I was like, is this true? I don't know. Yuck.
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't doubt that there isn't something in our bodies, but I know that I read before that we digest about a credit card's worth of plastic every single week.
I hate that. So, every week? What?
Yeah. So,
Stop it.
Yuck. Yeah. And that's from stuff like water. That's not even from bottled water. That's from tap water. It's everywhere.
Nothing is safe.
Nothing is safe anymore.
Oh my God. I didn't even think about tap water. All I thought about was like, like seafood and, stuff like that. I didn't even think about I was like, I'm fine. I don't eat seafood. But no, meanwhile, my tap's like, hey,
taps out
have
to
a
get
credit card you can't buy anything on.
Have it stick in your body as a ring forever.
Oh my goodness.
But that's why I'm like, surely not a ring, because we do consume
some
that
of it.
much of it.
Yeah, you'd have to pass some of it because it'd be too small.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we do pass the majority of it. But I also wouldn't be surprised if there isn't some of it in there. And look, I don't want to get all conspiracyist and talk about diseases that we might get from consuming plastic.
Stop. Yeah.
But also, I just don't know. We don't.
Yeah, we don't know. We're not going to know for years.
Yeah, if these are awful for us, or if we can build up a tolerance. Like, what if one day, instead of omega-3 tablets, we're all taking these like plastic tablets so that we can tolerate the amount of plastic in our diets?
Don't even joke, because I feel like that could be a thing. But I feel like anything that we take that would like counteract the plastics would probably be bad for the rest of our body anyway. So it's just like a never-ending cycle.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going down the wrong track.
Yeah, we'll go back.
Like a mad scientist over here with 0 degree. Plastic? What's this? Recycling? Okay.
Huh?
So yes, we can make things like plant pots and park benches, but now we can also make things high quality enough that it's safe enough to be food and drink packaging all over again, which is great. And we're leaving it at that. We're not getting conspiracy theorist at all. And so I think that's come about a lot because there are all of these recycling programs that are very precise about what they'll collect. So there's like a clean away one that collects just plastic bottles. So they'll collect those bottles, convert them back into pellets, and then back into bottles over and over again.
That's
and cool. In my head, I'm like, wow, surely at some point they degrade and can't be remade anymthis so like either it's fine, they're like, yeah, it just keeps on going forever, or well, they're maybe not it's talking about that.
This is just my brain, you know. Say you have 10 bottles and then you recycle 10 bottles and they're 10 bottles for 3 times, but then once you get to the 4th time it's only 9 bottles. Like maybe I don't know. That's how my brain thinks about it. But I mean, I feel like we produce plastic so much that there's always going to be an oversupply to recycle into more bottles. But
it's true. It might be that. It might be that. And I guess I just don't know. But part of me thinks that they're trying to present it as quite circular and it might not be there yet. But I can believe that the process is getting better.
Oh, definitely getting better, like you said.
And I know that Lush, they have their container take back scheme where you take back their black containers. I think you get like a free face mask if you take back 5. But because it's just their stuff, they know that they can just keep recycling it over and over again, which is really cool. So the better that we are at recycling right, the more we can recycle. And now is a great time to talk about how to know something can be recycled, which means we need to start at the packaging.
I'm so excited for this.
You're so excited.
Yeah. I seriously, the amount of times I look at the symbols on the bottom and I'm like, I know Chloe's told me this about this before. I know Chloe has this on her blog somewhere. And I look at a number and I'm like, what is this? It has the symbols. Like, it has the arrows. That means it's recyclable, right? I don't know, but it's not. Anyway, please enlighten me.
Yes, but no, but wait, there's more. Yes, we're talking about symbols, and this is the symbols that you'll see on your plastic packaging. And it's really cool when I talk about this, and then I look around and I try and find something plastic to be like, ooh, does it actually add up? Because obviously I'm researching what it's meant to mean. Part of me is like, nah, surely not everything is like that. And then I'll see the symbol, I'm like, what? That matches the thing. Wow.
Yes. I'm going to go around my house after this and be like, ooh.
So there's a few symbols that are kind of misleading. I'm going to start there. Are you familiar with, it's like 2 arrows that go around each other?
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If this is on YouTube, I'll stick up what the actual symbol is. If you're a podcast listener, you'll just have to figure it out. Or have some packaging in front of you. I think it's, gosh, I can't remember now if it's like 2 different colored arrows or if it's just 2 the same colored arrows.
I feel like some companies just make up their own thing and they put an arrow on it and you're like, oh, okay, good. But you don't actually know what it means.
That's true. Some people do just make up their own. But this one is a regulated one. The thing is, it's just 2 arrows going around each other. And because it's arrows going around each other, people think, oh, that means it can be recycled. But no, it simply means that that company has made a financial contribution to reduce landfill.
What?
Whatever that means. And it's a European thing. So if it's a product from Europe, it will most likely have that little logo on it to mean they're contributing contributing to minimizing landfill.
That sounds like a greenwashing thing to me.
It sounds a bit bizarre. I don't know why it exists.
This fee so we look like we're recycling, but really we've just paid a fee and made a pledge, wink wink.
Yeah, and I guess because you can have that logo and a recycling logo, and they'll be in the same place on packaging, so I wouldn't be surprised if people just see that and think, oh, they mean the same thing.
Oh my god, I want to go through my pantry. I want to be like,
don't go. So that's the first misleading one. The second one is called the tidy man symbol, and that is like a stick man and a bin.
Oh, yes.
And that is literally just there to remind people to be responsible and to throw away your waste.
What?
So it's actually a sign to be like, this is not recyclable, you need to throw it in the bin.
Yeah, but it's like we're going to change it with a cute little stick man, so you think it's like, but actually it's just like, throw it in the garbage.
Yeah, like, lol, this is packaging, you cannot recycle.
Right. Yep. I've never really thought about that. Like
and it goes away.
I've seen it a few times, but I never really thought about what it meant. Like, just put it in the bin.
Pretty much it. And I've seen it a lot of the time, or at least I used to see it on chocolate bar wrappers. I don't know what the case is now, because I buy a lot less, not vegan chocolate in this country. And therefore, I just don't look at the wrappers anymore.
No.
But I feel like they used to have that like disposable stick man bin thing. But you can soft plastic recycle here. Well,
you could. That's the other thing that you just brought to my mind, of all of these companies who say they have, a symbol on their packaging that says return to store or can be recycled. I wonder if all these companies are now going to change their packaging to remove that or not. But we can touch all on that later, because I've got a lot of information on the soft plastic program.
Yeah. Well, they are the two like key misleading ones that I see I get confused with and other people get confused with. And now these are the big ones, the 3 arrows that, yes, should mean recyclable, that all have numbers in the middle and usually like letters underneath. There are 7 of these symbols, and the number is meant to indicate what type of plastic the packaging is. And at least in Australia, that should mean you can recycle it. But it is down to you to find out if that type of plastic is recyclable in your area, because each council is different here.
Too many
Sometimes are readily recyclable in most areas and some aren't. So unfortunately, I can't like just say, yep, you can recycle this. But I'm going to go through them so that people can understand what they are and what they're used for. All right. So number 1 is PET, which, wow, am I actually going to say what they stand for? Guess I'll try. I'll try. So the type of plastic is polyethylene terephthalate.
I think that's pretty good.
Maybe. Thank you.
Good job.
So usually the characteristic is that they are clear, tough, solvent-resistant plastic, often used as a fiber, and usually it's used for carbonated soft drink bottles and detergent bottles. So if you look in your cupboards, you'll probably find it in containers like that.
Yeah.
The next one we have is HDPE, which stands for high-density polyethylene. It's a very common plastic, usually white or coloured, and it's usually used for milk or cream bottles, shampoo bottles, and cleaning products. So another quite a big range. Number 3 is PVC, which stands for polyvinyl chloride. It's usually hard, rigid plastic. It can be clear, and usually it's used for like clear cordial and juice bottles, so usually drinks. And then number 4 is LDPE, low density polyethylene, usually a soft, flexible plastic with a waxy surface. This is usually used for squeeze bottles. So I'm thinking it's like those like squeezable yogurt things. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Yogurt. I love you say yogurt. It sounds so much more fun than yogurt.
Oh, well, I'm glad you say fun and not just like I'm the Antichrist. Like,
not at all.
When I'm like, literally, I'll say yogurt and he's like, what's that? I don't know what you mean.
Yogurt. I love
and
that.
Then I respond with violence.
Yeah.
So yogurt. So I don't even think to say yogurt. It makes 0 sense to me. But then also
yogurt?
People say regimen and I say regime.
It's totally regime.
Oh, thank you.
Or maybe are they different? Regimen is like,
I think I've heard more Americans say regimen.
Yeah, I don't know.
But then there's also route and route.
Oh. route.
I would say route. Most
I think I'd
Aussies
say
I've
route
heard
too.
say route. Really?
Route. Really?
But then I'll say router.
Router. Yeah, what the hell? The English language is thick. We could totally do a whole new podcast about the English language.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
Sorry, green girls.
Bye.
Haven't even finished these symbols and we're like, actually, new podcast.
I'm sorry.
Where did I get to? Okay, we did number 4, LDPE. Number 5 is PP. Polypropylene. It's a hard but still flexible plastic, usually used for ice cream containers and lids and plastic takeaway containers. PS is polystyrene, which I have more to touch on. So this polystyrene is clear, glassy, rigid, but quite brittle. Usually used for yogurt containers. Yogurt containers?
No, I like yogurt.
Thank you. Yogurt containers. Margarine and butter containers as well. So I used to think that PS, polystyrene, was the same as EPS, which actually is the bane of our existence, and that's expanded polystyrene. And that is the devil of all plastics. That is the foamy, lightweight packaging that, like, with a light breeze can just become a microplastic at any moment. This plastic cannot be recycled.
Do you know what?
So that just won't have the symbol on it.
Yeah, this is the stuff that, like, you know, if you buy those food boxes, the grocery boxes or whatever, it comes in the really thin, kind of almost fluffy, crumbly foam. Is that what it is? Because I was going to say, like...
The packaging peanuts?
No. So, like...
Or do you mean like the stuff that your TV comes in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, because we at work, obviously... we do air cons and things like that, so they always come ridiculously packaged. Apparently they used to come cardboard packaged, but now they've changed it. It's that foam, the polystyrene foam. And my boss actually found somewhere, I want to say it's in Bayswater, where they take it, but I'm not sure if they only take commercial size. I don't think you could go down there and drop it off, but it's convenient for me because when we bought our TV, I grabbed all that polystyrene and I took it to work, and then
brilliant.
It got recycled.
So you could kind of do it through your work.
Yeah, well, it was. I mean, I don't think it's available for general households, but we build it up, put it in a giant bag, and then take it down, and it can't be contaminated or anything. It's got to be clean. But I'm not sure if it's just commercially available.
Yeah, it's a weird one because, I have heard of people gathering it from people to sell on. So I know that somehow you can recycle this stuff, but for the average person,
it's not easy. It's not readily accessible. There's no information on it.
No, and it's so easy to break down and become smaller and smaller plastics.
And then it's like beanbag balls, actually. That's what it reminds me of. Beanbag balls smushed together. And
that pretty much is what most beanbag stuff is, I think. You can get eco-friendly ones now.
When we moved in here, there was 2 beanbags that were under the house, and something must have eaten it, or it was mold or rotted or whatever. But when I went to remove it from under the house, the beans just went and I still find them. Like, I tried to pick up as many as I could, but every now and then there's a little beanbag ball, and I'm just like, so bad.
Oh, that sucks. That's so sad. They do. They spread out.
They do. And you try and pick it up and it goes like over. And this way.
I know. They know how to
fly
survive.
Away.
They do. Expanded polystyrene. Yeah. The worst.
Not good.
The worst.
Not good.
I don't know if they would have a recycling system on them as well. It might be that they can masquerade under polystyrene because it is technically it. But I'm pretty sure that is the one that you cannot curbside recycle. And so I don't think it should have this symbol on it, or it's really misleading. But number 7, the last one, is other plastics. So usually this is just when it's a different plastic that just isn't covered by this label, or it's multiples of plastics. So usually this will be acrylic or nylon that you might see that on, because it's a mixture of things. And as far as I know, that's hardest to recycle because it's already mixed with stuff. And so you would need to want to make it into something else that's already mixed that exact same amount.
Yeah, right.
So it probably just needs to be recycled back into what it already is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how easy that is to do. I
don't know.
really don't.
Now, I just want to say, I think I had something on the plastics because, like, I didn't have any of the information about what was what. But I had sitting in the middle of the chasing arrows. If it's a 1 or a 2, it's high value and will most likely be sold on the commodities market and recycled. Numbers 3 and 7 indicate mixed plastics, such as soft plastics, which are considered low value. And then this is from a really interesting article, which, again, I can link in the show notes. One of the people say, with high-value plastics, you can actually get paid dollars per ton, quite a bit for that. And then low-value plastic is actually negative, so you have to pay for that to be taken away. And that's just the way the nature of the polymers, the way they're recycling and reprocessing the resin. You can only use it once or twice. So I was like, ooh, you just refreshed my brain on something. So recycling's actually a commodities market. So who buys what is determined by the quality of the plastic.
Gotcha. So if it's low quality, then it doesn't have value. You want to get rid of it, so you pay to get rid of it.
Correct.
Whereas high quality, they will buy from you because it's actually worth something.
Exactly.
Oh, so really, it sounds like it's in people's interest to use this high value stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there's one last recycling symbol to talk about. This is my favorite, and it's unique to Australia. I think it's pretty new. And I love it because it's really simple. So you've probably noticed it. There will be a word at the top of the logo symbol relating to the part of the packaging that it is. So it will say like lid, box, or wrap.
Yes.
And then there's a symbol, usually the 3 arrows or a bin. The bin, of course, means it's just to be thrown in the trash. If the 3 arrows are solid, then it means you can recycle them at home. Or if the arrows are just an outline, then that usually indicates soft plastic or something that you need an extra step to recycle. Like you need to take it to a specific place to do that recycling. So it can be, just not at home. So that solid line is like, yep, I can recycle it at home. Easy peasy. And I love that because you can then have all of these symbols for each different part of this product to say, yep, the lid goes here, the film goes here, the box goes here. And you can do the correct thing for each thing. Because honestly, I think a lot of people think that whole thing goes in the same place. Yeah, and that is how contamination can happen.
Very true.
So that's really cool. Good on Australia, honestly, for doing that.
That's so funny that you say that because now I'm like, oh yeah, I have had a few things that have said, lid is this and soft plastic film is this and container is this. I've never really clicked.
And it's we're not to blame for it, but it's people do what's easy and people have so much to do every single day.
Correct.
That we want throwing stuff away to be easy too. It's not like we want to make the world a worse place, at least the majority of us. Like we're not all out here to watch the world burn. Just want to make doing the right thing as easy as possible. And these recycling symbols do that. I really like that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, the more you know. And I think that makes it so much easier for us. And Australia now has a national plastic plan. So there is a pledge. And I actually think that I've seen 2 different numbers. So I'll say I have seen both a 100% pledge and a 50% pledge to make all plastic recyclable, reusable, or compostable by 2025. So
that's soon.
Yeah. I think it was like a news website that said 100% by 2025, but the APCO, which I've forgotten what that stands for,
Australians Plastic Corporation. I have no idea.
We'll go with that. That's what it is, people. But they said 50% by 2025, and I'm inclined to believe that because it seems way more realistic.
Yeah, you've got to think what is actually possible.
Yeah, so they've made this plan, and they've identified that the number one issue that we have with doing all of this and making recycling good is that soft plastics are ending up in recycling bins. And the number 2 issue is that plastic bags... You're so sad. Like, you've done all this research about soft plastics, so I just see the dread in your eyes.
Yeah.
Sorry. That's the number 1 issue. The number 2 issue is people using plastic bags to contain their recycling. Because if you do that, it's just automatically all going to landfill.
Yeah.
That, or it contaminates the whole batch. There is also an issue with the mixture of materials being used to create one product. For example, little chap on the Pringles can, I reckon he needs some little devil ears, because while every single part of that can could be recycled, the mixture of it means it's almost impossible because people would have to separate every single little bit of a Pringles can. I know. Yeah. It's really sad.
Devil for sure.
Devil for sure. I have had to vow off Pringles.
I don't remember the last time I had Pringles.
I can't be bothered to dismount this whole Pringles can. So
no, who would though? That's the thing.
Other crisps exist.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, who would? It's like I can see them thinking like, oh yeah, but we use all these materials that could be recycled. Like, yeah, but who does that?
No, nobody does.
There needs to be a realistic amount of like dedication that they need to think about.
Agreed.
So sorry, Pringles, none of that for me. So I'm nearly at the end of my little presentation. I can skip this, but I wrote a little bit about the recycling process. Does that interest you?
I think so. I think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of the times we just put it in the bin and then don't think about it. But I'd actually like to know what happens.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it convinced me that separating things is really worthwhile and like why to do those things. So this is from a YouTube video I watched basically about the recycling process. It was from an American place, but realistically, I think most of them will be along the same vein. So this is what happens when it's a bulk, everything's recycled together process. And this is how it separates everything. And I find it really cool because I'm one of those kids that loved how it's made. And this is
definitely
the opposite of that. But just we're seeing all the conveyor belts is great. I will link this in the show notes along with anything else. So it's all together. It's all in the same conveyor belt. And then it goes through what they call the Liberator, which is this low-powered shredder. But it's not there to shred. It's basically there to get things out of bags and to separate things for when the sorting begins. But if there are these bags, then it can get jammed in the machine and then nothing works. So it's there for a good reason, but it's there for a reason that shouldn't really be there. But it's good to separate things, make things easier to get to so that each material is liberated, I suppose they want to say. They're liberating all the different types of recycling. It then goes through a set of spinning discs. So that throws most of the items forwards, but anything smaller than about 2.5 inches falls through. And that is actually to target glass, and about 95% of glass just gets separated here.
Yeah.
Then the mixture will go through a large drum of magnets, and that picks up what they say is ferrous metals. I would just say magnetic metals.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they mean the same thing, but I'm not educated enough to know.
I think you might be right.
I'm pretty sure I'm right. Let's go with that. So that picks up the ferrous metals, and those metals are then separated by size. So all the metals are separated, and then the rest of the mixed items are left to go through what they call ballistic separators, which actually bounce things around. And so that separates 2D and 3D materials. 2D being like paper, and 3D being like bottles, like a plastic bottle. And lastly, the 3D material is passed through lots of these little optical sorters. They use infrared, and that detects different types of plastic. And when they identify something like a plastic water bottle, for example, like the type of plastic used for that, it's a jet of air. So they know where it is in the conveyor belt, and they then target a jet of air to push that to a different area of the conveyor belt. So then that is separated as well.
That's so cool.
I know. They just, and it's in the right place. So now that all the materials are put into their either same or similar types, scrunched all up into bales, and then it's sent to wherever it is that is going to buy it. So now that everything is separated, it can be made into something that uses that material again. I really like this, but it proves the point that it needs to make money in order to work. There needs to be a demand for this recyclable material in order to be worth doing this process. And so my last tips, this is from Gail Sloan, the CEO of Waste Management and Resource Recovery Association. That is a great title. And she said she really wants commitment from the government to buy recycled, ensuring that there is a demand that can match the supply, and there should also be a virgin tax on companies that decide to use virgin materials in order to therefore also increase demand for recycled materials as well. And Gail mentioned that France and UK also already have this tax. So that's really cool. It means that Australia can literally just learn from them and take it, honestly. I really, really like those because it gets to the point of it where we need people to want to buy recycled materials so that the research we do into making recycled materials better happens.
Definitely.
I know not everyone's on board with capitalism, but we are stuck with it for the time being, and therefore this is what's going to work. So I'm on board. I have my closing tips before I want you to totally make me cry.
No.
And some of these I found from a Banish video. Banish is a really great company store, online store here in Australia. The founder, Lottie, is just, I want her to come on here and teach us everything there is about recycling. She's the bee's knees, bee's knees of a person. But in her video, she said separating lids is great. So when there are different material to the jar or the bottle, you need to take them off, separate them, put them in something of the same material, because if they're too small, they can't be recycled.
Right.
Anything smaller than a 50-cent piece should be collected together into a container of the same material. Washing recycling is a good idea, but it depends on your council whether you have to do it or not. But generally, it's a good idea to rinse it just so that your bin doesn't get stinky.
Yes, definitely.
Paper with a little bit of sticky tape or plastic, or like a plastic window, is okay. That can be recycled. You don't need to bother removing it. It's actually okay. Wow. But if it's got a lot of plastic, like a lot of sticky tape, then you should remove that and deal with that separately. Lastly, pizza boxes are seldom recyclable, but a good rule is to remove the greasy bottom, put that in the bin, and if the lid doesn't have any grease, then put that in your recycling bin.
True.
A little bit of extra effort, but means you can recycle what you actually can recycle. Rip it off.
True.
And I believe that is it from me. I hope that everyone's learned something about recycling. I'm really honestly happy. I'm happier knowing about recycling now than I was before. And I'm especially happy about this because I used to think, I'm never going to buy hard plastic, only soft plastic, because I believe in Redcycle. That's going to be great. And due to some recent news, which Mikaela's going to talk us through, I'm not so sure anymore.
Yes, I feel like even if you aren't in the sort of ethical lifestyle scene, or you're not really interested in recycling or whatever, I think everyone's sort of heard the news of what's happened with Redcycle, which
I heard it on the radio.
Very, very unfortunate. I woke up I think a couple of weeks ago and checked my phone. The first thing I saw on Instagram was that Redcycle has paused any collection. So first off, I think I want to touch on what even is Redcycle. So
good idea.
From their website, Red Group is a Melbourne-based consulting and recycling organisation who developed and implemented the Redcycle program, which is a recovery initiative for post-consumer soft plastic. And this was founded by Liz Cassell. I believe I said her last name correct. If not, I apologise. So the website says, we have teamed up with Coles, Woolworths and some of Australia's most loved brands to make it easy for you to keep your plastic bags and soft plastic packaging out of landfill. So the Redcycle program is a true product stewardship model where manufacturers, retailers and consumers are sharing responsibility in creating a sustainable future. See our partners page to see which of Australia's most loved brands are on board to reduce the amount of plastic packaging going to landfill. And then they had a couple of businesses who did use their soft plastics. So there's Replas, which is in Ballarat in Victoria, and they turn it into a range of recycled products, indoor-outdoor furniture, bollards and signage. All of these products are very, very robust, won't crack, splinter or rot, and never need painting. So they're the products that were kind of used in schools, parks, public spaces and commercial premises.
Cool.
Then there was Close the Loop, which is also in Victoria. So they use the material as a component of high-performance recycled asphalt additive for road infrastructure. That was a lot of words.
Well done.
And then there was the third one is Plastic Forests, and they were based in Albury, New South Wales, and they use the material as a component of their products for things such as air conditioner mounting blocks. So I can tell you, working in air conditioning, that they are useful.
Oh, good.
So all of these soft plastics were initially processed in the Redcycle facility before being delivered to their manufacturing partners. I've got a couple of article headlines here that I thought were interesting, because when I first started looking this up, I was in the mindset of being very disappointed that, this has happened. But some of these headlines I thought were interesting. So this one's from yahoo.com. says Redcycle's collapse is more proof that plastic recycling is a broken system. It's like, interesting. And a lot of them say Redcycle collapse, which I don't think it's a collapse essentially, but we can touch on that later.
Yeah, okay.
This next one is from SBS News. Why the demise of the scheme may actually be a good thing for the environment. While Redcycle soft plastic recycling has collapsed, Macedon Ranges residents can still recycle their plastic packaging waste. So, as we touched on before, some councils actually do have it in place to recycle their soft plastics just with your household bin, which I thought was really interesting because I was under the impression that Redcycle was the only one doing it. So there's some sort of infrastructure in there somewhere. Something. Yeah. And then this last one is from smartcompany.com.au. They say, Redcycle collapse, a sign of broken recycling system.
Yeah.
Which, yes, I agree.
I think that's what the majority of them sound like.
Yes, definitely.
Like,
and
it's all collapsing.
Yeah.
It's all going to hell in a handbasket.
That's it. And I was really disheartened because I was like, the responsibility shouldn't be on this independent company. Like I touched on before that I think it should be a government thing to start off with legislation. It shouldn't be these independent, like Liz was a mum who was getting frustrated with the amount of soft plastics and wanted to do something about it. So she created this amazing company, which has made a huge difference. But again,
huge, absolutely huge. The comments I keep seeing on the posts about Redcycle are like, people being so disheartened and astonished at how much stuff they're throwing away now that they can't use Redcycle.
Exactly. And I think that it's been really nice to see the outpouring of support and, you know, thoughts that are on the Redcycle page. Like I just see all these comments, if they've even responded being like, you know, thank you guys so much for this, like we're working on figuring it out. It's kind of nice to see that. I know it's an unfortunate situation, but I think sometimes we kind of have to hit this tipping point for there to be a positive change. So I'm looking at it in that sense.
That's a nice way to look at it.
Yes, instead of being negative Mikaela all the time, I'm going to be a little bit positive Coco.
Woo!
So if you haven't already gathered, the program was suspended after it was revealed that the soft plastic items collected at Woolworths and Coles had been stockpiled for months in warehouses and not recycled. Ooh. So this is what Redcycle said. Redcycle's partners have temporarily stopped accepting and processing soft plastics due to unforeseen changes exacerbated by the pandemic. This is what the organisation said on Wednesday, which was a couple of weeks ago. There was also a fire at one processing partner, which crushed their ability to process soft plastics. And dealing with a huge increase in the volume of plastic it was receiving, with nobody on hand to take Redcycle's mounting stockpile of waste, they had to pause the collections.
Gotcha.
So there's quite a few factors. It's not like they've just been like, oh, crap, we're just going to... Yeah, like I think this has sort of been a long time in the making, especially with Woolies and Coles coming in and having these bins. It's made it a lot more accessible. And even people who would never have thought about soft plastics, you go to do your groceries and you see this bin and you're like, oh, what's that? So I think a lot more people were doing it.
Yeah, slowly but surely people are finding out. And I guess we've been doing our bit as well. Like, even just me and Tarek will go to people's houses and like, oh, where's your recycling collection? And like slowly converting all of our friends to it. Because, I mean, I don't think my bosses honestly even recycle. But I taught them about it this week and was like, usually you can, you know, compile your soft plastics and take them to Coles or Woolworths. He's like, oh, right, okay. So like, either he never does the shopping himself or he's just never noticed the big bin. But most people do. Every now and again, they'll realize and be like, oh, cool, we can do that. Like you in office works, like realizing once you're there, there's all these things you can recycle there.
Exactly. And it's quite often sort of near the front entrance. So you'll have to walk past it. And often I found that the bins were pretty full. So it's like a lot of people were doing it. So yes, I was very upset to hear that it's been paused, but I don't like that they have said to put your soft plastics in the household waste. I understand.
Personally,
you know,
I'm just stockpiling
not
it.
Everyone...
I know that might make a bigger problem when they're like, yep, cool, you can recycle again, because they'll be like, oh, good.
Yeah, we'll be like, here's a year's worth.
All my soft plastic, plus the 2 months that I just forgotten to give you from before this started.
Same. Yeah. So they've pledged to continue with everything that they currently have at some point in time. It's not a definite thing right now, but they've said that they would like to recycle what they currently have. So I'm not sure when the collections would resume, if they will resume. Maybe it will make a change in the government and in all the manufacturers. But yeah, I'm going to just keep my giant bin and just overload it until we have some news.
Yeah, the boot of my car is going to just be a soft plastic collection.
Yeah, definitely. So unfortunately, this sort of thing that has happened means that it's proof that our plastic recycling system is kind of a little bit broken. Like, Australia can't achieve its recycling target if the focus is on the collection, recycling, and disposal alone. I've got this really good triangle here, which has the hierarchy of what is the most sustainable and what is the least. So I think we might start with the least, and the least is obviously disposal.
Yay.
The next one is
going
waste.
Straight in the bin, right?
Yeah, exactly. Waste to energy, recycling, then recover and reuse. Then, of course, we have reduce, and the very top most sustainable is prevent.
So,
yes, it all starts with that. If there's no waste to begin with, that's good.
Have I told you about the bathtub thing?
Bathtub thing?
That's my official name for it. I'm sure that there must be something more to it. I feel like I came up with this independently, but also it's like a really great way of summing it up. So I feel like it must be out there as like a thing.
Yeah.
But for now, it's called the bathtub thing. And it's the idea that you need to turn off the tap. So you're in a bath or you're filling a bath. And in this scenario, you know, the world is the bathtub, the water is the plastic. And we're coming up with all of these schemes. Like, the bathtub is overflowing, water is flooding out, it's getting out of hand. We can do all of these things to mop it up. We can get all the towels out, we can mop up what we can, which is essentially the recycling system. But nothing is going to really fix it until we turn off the tap.
Amazing. I love that.
So we need all of these systems, and we need to come up with better ways, better containers, you know, better ways to like contain our food and to store things. All these reasons that we have plastic. Don't get me wrong, there are some great reasons to have plastic. It's made us way more sanitary. It's great for specific things, but in all of these single-use straws, cups, we don't need them.
No, definitely not. There's so many alternatives. It's that convenience thing, and it's also cost. So I think, we touched on before that recycling is a commodities market. Unfortunately, the recycling process is much more complex because it's intertwined with the economic system. So
great.
It's not like you can just, you know. So most of the time it costs more to recycle more plastics than to just throw them away. And as Chloe touched on, these low-value plastics used to be exported to China, which unfortunately meant the reliance on the global waste trade meant that we actually hadn't developed any advanced domestic recycling infrastructure. So we're getting there. I think there's definitely improvements on the way. It's just we were so reliant on others taking the problem that we didn't need to develop anything. It was just ship it off and we're good. So
you're so right. We didn't need to. Why bother?
No, we did not. And as Chloe touched on before about the importance of sorting, it really is, because the current system requires the mixed plastic waste stream to be sorted into hundreds of different parts, which is unrealistic and actually pretty challenging for remote or low-income communities. So people in outback Australia, there's more high transport costs associated with shipping the plastic to a reprocessing facility. And a lot of those rural areas don't have as sophisticated waste management infrastructure. So, you know, a lot of country or rural towns might not have the inner city, you know, they've got 5 bins, whereas everything's just in one.
In one, right. Yeah.
So, I mean, like my mum, for example, she's not even that rural, but they pay rates, but the council doesn't pick up their bin. They have to have an independent contractor.
What? What are they paying for? That seems ridiculous.
That's what I said. Apparently, they just don't come to them. It's too far.
Wow.
Stupid. So stupid.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah,
Sorry.
that's all right. The small single-use packaging is one of the ones that's most difficult to recycle.
So what sort of packaging is that? Is that meaning the straws and stuff?
Yeah, it's like, like those small little sachets. Like a lot of people say in lower income, they buy, a daily portion of something because it's easier. They're not going to waste. They're not going to bulk buy things because they don't have the money for it, which means that the ease and the convenience of the small single-use plastics is overwhelming.
Oh my gosh. So like every single one of those little instant noodle packets that have a little sachet of like chicken salt or whatever it is.
Yeah. And we used to be able to Redcycle them. And basically the way that, I don't think I touched on this before, but the way that you knew something could be Redcycled is you could scrunch it. And that was so easy. You just scrunch it up, and if it goes into a ball or squishes, Redcycle.
But pretty much recycle all of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a bit sad, but good news. The Australian government has made a pledge to recycle plastics, as Chloe touched on before. And I believe it's Tanya Plibersek. She's a government person. She says that the government has made the ambitious pledge to recycle all virgin plastics by whatever year it was. I've got different dates, so I don't know. Unfortunately, virgin plastics are any plastics that are made from non-recycled material. And currently, Australia only recycles and reuses about 16% of the more than 1 million tonnes of plastic in circulation.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah, and the issue with recycling is it's not recycled until somebody buys a product with the recycled content. Wow. You can have the best collection program in the world, but until someone buys it, it's not actually recycled. Okay. And considering that the consumption of plastic and the production of plastic is expected to triple by 2060, most consumer packaged good companies are still in the mindset of recycling is the best way to address the issue. But looking at that little pyramid from before, then we know it's not. Yeah. And this article said something that I was like, oh, I bolded it. And I was like, yes, it's spot on. So they said the Redcycling program was like a Band-Aid on a bullet wound.
Ooh, yeah.
Oof. Damn. Yeah. So this program actually gave supermarkets a free pass, essentially, because it was like, hey, look, we're doing something. We've got this program here, which, they've just partnered with. Yeah, so rather than looking at, their packaging and their systems and trying to reduce their plastic use, they shift the burden to someone else and make it a problem for someone else to deal with.
Yeah, like, oh, good, you will take all the soft plastics now. Yeah. You don't have to worry about changing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
So although it is a sad situation to hear that Redcycle has had to pause or cancel its collections, there's a couple of good things that come out of it. The fact that they are so overwhelmed means that people are caring and people are trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good positive to look at. The other thing is that this is kind of the kick in the guts that will potentially drive change for the future. It means that we're going to have to implement something else. We can't just rely on one single independent company to deal with it. So I'm hopeful that the government will make a change, or even the manufacturers will sort of realize, oh, crap, we can't now greenwash and say, this is recycling with this random partner. We might have to change the packaging. So I think as sad as it is and as, sort of disheartened as I am, I think it will be good in the future.
Yeah, it's good to hear you say that. I know where you're coming from. That, Band-Aid on a bullet wound does sum it up quite well. Like, there is an issue that you've tried to address.
It's exactly like your bathroom analogy.
Yes, a tad more violent,
bathtub,
I might say.
Well, yeah, I didn't say it. I just read it. And I thought, I'm going to steal that.
I like it. It says it in quite a graceful way.
Yeah.
Like it's tricky. I don't want to say, I guess there's a couple of ways I'm looking at it where potentially putting this Band-Aid on has meant that more people aren't therefore going to bulk stores and trying to buy things without plastic. Because if enough people do go to them, maybe that will mean the prices of these bulk food items go down. Because I know a big con to them is a lot of the time it's more expensive to buy things without the plastic.
Not conveniently located.
Yeah, and it is, often is not convenient. If you're in the city, it can be more convenient, and maybe there's farmers markets, but it takes research to know where these things are. And if it's prohibitively expensive, then you're not gonna do it. And a good diet is good. Like I don't know where in my mind it sits where you should avoid plastic and have a worse diet, or the other way around. I think I would choose the thing in plastic that's healthy over the thing not in plastic that's unhealthy. Not that that's always how things work. Like, you know, a lot of fast food is in plastic as well. So that's besides the point. But if these things are prohibitively expensive, then if you don't have the money, then I think you're just not going to go there. I feel like there needs to be enough people who I guess are well off enough to go down the bulk food route so that the Redcycle and soft plastic recycling system can be more sustainable than it currently is. Which
agreed.
Probably means this is all an economics problem, and
well, it
bigger
is.
Than my head.
It's so intertwined. It's not as easy as being like, stop this, do this. Like everything is, you know, mixed together. It's not like one part can go, okay, this is what we're doing now. Like everyone has to work together, and it's probably going to be more expensive to begin with, but everything needs to be in place for future generations. We're in that sort of change moment, I think.
Enough people need to care that proves to government that it's something to invest in.
And I think it slowly is happening. I think a lot more people I talk to are aware of what, you know, they can do or what might be the issue. Whereas a few years ago, you know, soft plastics recycling didn't exist.
And now it's actually everywhere. Like they have a system in New Zealand. They've got a system in the UK. I say everywhere. In those two places, I know that there's soft plastics. And that's not Redcycle. So it's, there are other companies doing it, which gives me hope that even if Redcycle doesn't recover, another system can take its place.
There will be something else. I'm hopeful. I think they will recover. I think it's just going to take time. But I think it's a joint effort. So
I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Well, there's more hope in this than I honestly thought there would be. Thank you for being a good cop.
Yeah, I know. Yay. And it wasn't even like at the start of this episode, Chloe's like, oh, you're a bad cop, I'm good cop. And I was like, oh, wow, wait a minute, I am. And I kind of like, I was thinking, oh, crap, what have I done in this research? And then when I looked through it, I was like, no, it's semi-positive. It's okay.
Like, good.
There's a few things in there where I was a bit negative, but I feel like I always am. I point out the things, you know, that make me angry. But
it's good to include. We need that balance.
We can be positive too. There's
and
good
I think
things.
Because you are often the person doing the statistics, and that's a very bad cop role. So,
the statistics are depressing.
But then that's why we talk about it. There's an issue that we're hoping to solve and to help people along their journey with.
Correct.
So you're a very good everything cop. Well done.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, everyone, so much for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, we would love if you can leave us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. You can follow the podcast on Instagram with @greengirls.podcast. You can follow me on Instagram with @BeKindCoco. And you can follow Mikaela on Instagram with @Mikaela Hoffman or @RetroKittyVintage. If you'd like to support us further, you can join our Patreon and receive ad-free episodes and some extra rambly episodes, or you can buy us a coffee. That's all for now, folks. Look out for new episodes every other Wednesday, because on Wednesdays we podcast. And until next time, remember, it doesn't matter if you take it slow, it matters that you take a